Welcome back to the Nøbodies Project Season 2. This is a podcast where we talk to creatives about their process, their ruts, what they're passionate about, what they want to do in the future, and everything in between. This episode, we have Carlo Lamanga, and he is a chef, the first chef on Nøbodies Project, and I really enjoyed this one. He is an award-winning chef, 2021 Food and Wine Best New Chef, or one of them, and also was a James Beard nominated chef, has been on a TED Talk, he's been on Chopped, and with all those accomplishments, the biggest thing is he's just a delightful person to talk to, and I really enjoyed talking to him, and I hope you enjoy it as well. So this is season 2 of the Nøbodies Project. We have Carlo Lamanga. Oh,
well, see, you fucked it up already.
I know.
I just told you what it was. Lamagna.
Lamagna. And he owns a very excellent, highly rated restaurant right by the Clinton Theater in Portland.
Yeah, right across the street from the Clinton Theater. Yeah, Magna Kusina, little restaurant that could, as I like to call it, 26 in Clinton. Come by. But yeah, so we got that one, and we're opening one in Beaverton in a couple weeks.
And then the big one is
Denver.
Denver,
Colorado. Who knew, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So some guy was like, "Oh, this guy's Filipino. Open a restaurant." Okay, sure.
Yeah, and we'll get to that as well. The first question I always ask people, and for you, it's going to be the same thing: is what do you do for art, or what do you do for money, and then what do you do for art?
Well, loaded question. Yeah, a lot of. I was just having this discussion earlier with our friends, and I believe that a lot of people look at food, like the culinary world. I mean, it's called culinary arts, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of chefs, there's this big debate in the industry whether or not it truly is an art or is a craft, right? So there's like a stark difference between those two definitions. But the simple answer is what I do for both money and art, in my opinion, are the same thing. I am one of the few fortunate ones that found success in something that they really genuinely love to do. And for me, that's cooking, right? And while I'm in the middle of that debate, I think it's both a craft and an art. The craft in it is the technique and the preparation of all the ingredients, just like you would prepare a color palette, right? But it's the interpretation of how you use those ingredients and those paints, if you will, to paint this picture. Same thing for me. It's like you can give 5 different chefs the same set of ingredients, but I guarantee you they're going to have 5 different interpretations on a plate. To me, that's where the art comes in, the artistic point of view. So yeah, I mean, I do what I love, and I am fortunate enough to be able to pay myself a little bit. It's not a lot. There's not a lot of great margins in the culinary world, but yeah, that's kind of where I find myself very lucky.
Oh, I love that. So going into like how you came to doing this, and also just like how you come up with recipes, I'm always interested, like how involved are you in like day to day, like, okay, this needs to be where it's at standards wise, and like how you got to the menu that you currently have, because I'm sure this was not the first iteration.
Yeah, it's funny. So I came up. I've been doing this for 24 years now, in the kitchens, cooking for various chefs in different environments. So you kind of pick up this like knack for things. Like it's almost intuitive. Where I know that's underdone just by looking at it, that kind of thing. You know? So there's a lot of experience behind what I do and kind of how recipes are created. So a lot of the dishes and recipes that I create are based off of memory, based off of things that I enjoy, right? So it's like, how my dad used to cook adobo. I'll reinterpret that, but I'll still use the soul of that dish and kind of the core principles that my dad taught me how to do, and, do chefy things with it, right? But creating recipes and creating dishes always starts, for me, it always has to start with a memory. It always has to start with an emotional connection. And a lot of people will be like, well, there's only so much you can do. Well, it's like, I've been around the world for 42 years. I'm 42 years old, and I've seen and experienced a lot of different things. And so that, to me, is like the common question that people ask, like, oh, so what do you like to cook? Or what kind of cuisine do you cook, or whatever, Yeah. And I'm like, well, I cook me. Like, I believe that a chef is a person, a chef's ideas are an accumulation of who they were and who they are, right? From the point of your waking memories that you could, your first memory that you can recollect, all the way to who you are now. That's your cuisine. That's who you are. That's what you're putting on the plate. Because it could be that I'm focusing on Filipino food, but a lot of the techniques I learned, I came up in different kitchens, French, Italian, you name it, we did it. But I draw different techniques from those places, and now it's kind of ingrained in who I am. Yeah. And so when creating dishes, yes, it could be influenced. It's heavily influenced by the Philippines because that's the cuisine I'm cooking. But as far as like creating these things, I draw upon everything that I have, and that's how I create dishes. And these recipes, the recipes is the technical aspect. Like, oh, it needs a little bit more garlic, so I'll taste it. So I'm heavily involved in the in the process of putting the dish together. Does it need this? Does it need that? But then, to be a great chef, you need to be able to pass that on, and to be able to trust the people that work with you, or that are in your restaurant, to execute it consistently. Yeah. So we do all the nerdy stuff. It's like, oh, it needs it needs this much garlic. All right, let's start at 10-gram increments and keep adding a little bit garlic till we get it just right. Okay, how many did we add? We started with this. Okay, that's the number. So that's the technical aspect. And then the creative aspect is it's like, oh, this is going to be really cool. How are we going to put this on a plate, or what kind of plate do we have? I nerd out about ceramicists and stuff like that. Like plate. Yeah, it's because that's part of it. Yeah. That's part of it. Like,
yeah, the whole thing is, it's an experience.
Exactly. I could put the food in your hand. But
that's a different experience. Yeah.
Creative canvases are fun. Like oh, what kind of plate would frame this really well? This looks great in this dark bowl, but this looks better in this, whatever white bowl, and everything in between. Or even like the most random things, like, oh, how about we put this on a wood board? Yeah. Nowadays you're seeing people like put things on pebbles and shit. I'm like, oh, that's a pebble. Cool. But anyway,
seems a little dangerous, but
yeah, it's extremely. But no, there's just so many amazing ways that you can interpret one single thing. Yeah. So
yeah, I love that. I think the biggest thing well, no, that's why I'm asking these questions. The biggest thing I took away from that is that it's a collection of who you are, and it's something that is often brought up in like design world, is that when you're going to go make something, it's not, maybe it takes you 5 minutes to make it. Like I'm sure if I asked you, hey, can you make me this? It'll take you 15 minutes, but it took you your whole life to be able to make it in 15 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times in design and just in art in general, that gets way overlooked.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think a lot of people, it's funny, people that may have just met me will be like, oh, that's so cool that you could do that. And like, that would take me an hour. That would take me 2 hours. I was like, yeah, it will. And you're going to be a hot mess in the kitchen.
It won't taste as good.
But hey, let's say it does taste great, but it took you 2.5 hours to do it. Yeah. But I can do the same exact thing, and like you said, in 15 minutes. And so this is where pay comes in, right? And this is what I tell people. I was like, oh, why are you getting paid this much? I was like, because I could do the job. It's like, but I can make that at home. Then I'm like, how long does it take you to make at home? Yeah. Okay. Do you clean up after yourself? Yeah. Okay. So let's say that this dish takes you in total 5 hours, right? It takes me 15 minutes. The reason why is because, one, I'm paying another individual to clean. I'm paying another individual to prep it. And so it's this like business model, right? And I get paid the big bucks. Let's be honest, not really big, but I get paid at least to do this because of the accumulation of these years of experience to be able to show people how to consistently make it. and to do it in such a short amount of time, because that's expertise, right? And a lot of people overlook that. It's funny because in the I love all the Filipinos and Filipinas out there, but they got some issues. If you're listening, I'm telling you right now, you have issues, because they're the first ones to complain. They're like, oh, this is so expensive. Why is this so expensive? I'm like, you know why this is expensive? Because I'm running a restaurant. It's like, I could make this at home. I'm like, okay. And so I go into this ramble, and I get in an argument with these older Filipinos. I'm like, oh my God, why am I doing this? And I want to tear whatever little hair I have left on my head. But that's the thing. It's like, I think so many people overlook that your experience. I love that you're laughing. They overlook the experience that it takes, and the years of hard work, like the scars on my hands, the burns that I endured to learn how to do something really well. Like, that's why I respect amazing artists and craftsmen, because like look at the Japanese and woodworking. Yeah. That's all they focus on. You go to any go to Asian countries, right? And you'll find an individual that has been doing one thing their entire life. The old man, like if you ever watch classic Bourdain shows, and you'll see the old man making noodles. And he's old as shit, and he's wrinkled, but he's still making the noodles, right? And that's all he ever did his entire life. And not just like a bunch of noodles, just like one specific noodle. But guess what? That man is a master. He doesn't measure anything anymore. He doesn't look at anything. He knows by feel that it's the right flour. He knows just by touch that dough is perfect. He knows by smell that this needs a little bit more time, right? And then people complain. They bitch about it. They're like, yeah, I just don't get it.
And the thing about that is, you don't have to go there. That's fine. But I just don't understand how people don't see that as an experience of, like, for example, when you talk about artists who are absolute masters, it's so enjoyable to see somebody who is that been doing it their whole life, or just the top of their game, and that's what they're most passionate about. Exactly. You can feel it when you go to certain places, or when you go to a gallery, and you can really see that they're not phoning it. That's exactly what they want to be doing.
Exactly.
Or like a stand-up, you can see it the same way, where like almost any artist, it's like you can't really put a finger on what it is, but you can kind of feel that passion in maybe it's food, maybe it's whatever they're making,
whatever their medium is. Yeah, exactly.
And it's beautiful. Going into how you kind of got here, has there ever been a recipe that, or I wouldn't say a recipe, has there ever been a thing on your menu that sold really, really well that maybe you got sick of, or you
every day every day of my
that
life.
You were convinced of, that you're like, I don't think that's that good, but it sells well, so it's good for business, or do you just stick to your guns?
I was just talking about this the other day too. There are dishes on the menu that are mainstays, right? That are, I love making. Don't get me wrong, I love making them. I love doing them. But then, because as a creative, right, on the creative side, you want to challenge yourself all the time. You want to keep it fresh. You want to do something new. I was like, oh my God, I want to do something. Oh, I want to do something with crab, but I can't do it because this crab noodle. So there's a dish. It's on the menu. It reads Mom's Crab Fat Noodles.
Yeah, I had it this week. It was great.
Thank you. Which is hilarious, actually, because my mom, when she walked in, was like, what's this crab fat noodles? And who's Mom? I'm like, Mom,
it's called branding.
Mom, jeez. So this dish is what I like to say is accumulation of my entire career. Because one, the sauce is influenced by how my mom cooked crabs. That's why it's Mom's Crab Fat Noodles, right? So, the way that she cooked crabs, the sauce is just memorable. It hits, and it's so it's like this flavor bomb. And I was like, okay, how am I gonna put that on a menu? Like, I can't just serve crab fat. People will be like, I didn't know crabs are fat. I was like, well, we'll not get into the scientific nature of this, but the funny thing is, it's an accumulation so every place that had an impact on my career is in that bowl. The way that we make noodles is I learned how to make pasta from an Italian chef. The pickles and preserves that we use in there right now, it's a pickled corn chow chow. It's the same exact recipe that my old chef taught me, like Paul Veron, amazing. All my mentors. And so I took all these elements from these major points in my life, and I put them in a bowl, right? But then I'm like, I want to change the noodle, or ooh, I want to try something this, or I want to use crab, but I can't, whatever it is. Yeah. And I took it off once. Oh my God!
Look in your eye was like, it was a nightmare.
It wasn't. Where are the crab noodles? I was like, because we had closed, pandemic, so I stopped serving it because it wouldn't translate. Then when we reopened, I was like, I'm not going to put it back on.
Test the waters a little
bit. Dip my toe in there. Sure as shit. Fucking everybody. Where are the crab noodles? I was like, what do you mean where are the crab noodles? Oh, try this new dish that I made. It's like, no, I came back specifically. I was like, damn it. And there's a dessert too that's the same effect. It's this coconut sticky rice called biko. I can't take it off. I took it off once and people were in an uproar. I was like, are you kidding me? It's rice and just random stuff. Can't you just try this? This is creative. This is new. I cried in the walk-in. No. Yeah. But yes, so to answer your question, yes, there are dishes that you're like, well, shit, I don't want to do this anymore. But then you have to, because you know what? At the end of the day, my job is to it's hospitality, right? Yeah. And a good measure or metric is consistency too. And those dishes, like I said, I've been attached to them. Mm-hmm. And I've grown to re-love them, I guess, if I have to, but no, but it's pretty cool though that people from out of state will come in and be like, you know what, I had these crab noodles when I first came here. Do you guys still have them on the menu? It's like, it brings people back. It gives them a frame of reference, but at the same time, it draws them back in so that now they're going to try. Because then I change all the other parts on the menu. Okay. I flow my dishes seasonally, right? And so they come back and then be like, oh, I didn't see this was on the menu. It's like, no, you should check this out. You should try this. Oh, we changed the format a little bit. We added skewers and this, that, or the other, and people are blown away. But then they still have this because people are creatures of comfort. Yeah. And in familiarity, they find a lot of comfort. So to have, lumpia Shanghai will never leave, pancit bihun will never leave, the crab noodles, the biko, those things will never leave. Right. They won't. Yeah. And rice, of course. Rice is life. But, those things will always be on the menu, and they'll always come back for it. So
yeah. Couldn't relate more. Like at the brewery, we have the blueberry muffin beer. And
and I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah, everybody, producer Bradley loves it. It's one of his favorites. But everybody in the brewery is like, we're fucking sick of it.
I'm over it.
And they're like, can we just not? And it's like,
but no,
how are you not? It's like, it sells so well. People come from out of state, and they're like, I had this blueberry muffin beer. Oh my, I need to try it.
My sister loves that beer, and she's a beer nerd, right? She's a beer nerd all the way in Michigan. And she'll have me buy it and send it to her. Oh yeah. I'm like, why?
Yeah, I have friends who ask.
Yeah,
all
please.
the time.
Yeah, and I asked James. James like, I'm not involved in that. No, I'm just kidding. He does. He's a sweetheart. He
is. Yeah. Has there ever been something where you were just fucking stoked on a recipe and
didn't like it.
And just they didn't like it at all?
It bombs.
Yeah.
Yes. All the time.
Are you like persisting? You're like, no, you just don't understand yet.
You don't get me. Yeah. You just don't get me. Start crying again in the walk-in.
Go right out to the customers. Like, why don't
you like it? Just love me. Yeah. Oh, seeking approval is always a hoot, isn't it?
Yeah. Hey, that's art, right?
No. Everybody has hits. Everybody has misses. I think over time, I've just become better at handling the situation. Yeah. Like I'll put a dish up, and my first thing is that I'll cook a dish and I'll serve it to the staff first and get opinions, and because I trust them. A lot of them have been with me forever, so they know my palate, and a lot of them cooked with me for a long time. So and
I hope they're brutally honest. I hope. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, they're honest, and it's not like, oh, this sucks. No, they're just like, oh, this could use a little bit more. Like, it's all technical, right? Yeah. Oh, this needs a little bit more acid, or what if you rethink this, that, and I'm the same way with other chefs and my cooks too. But yes, they're honest, and then we tweak it, and then we put it out there. Oh, this is really good, and then we all end up loving it, right? So I'm not alone in my sorrows.
So you can all cry together.
So we could all cry together. It's like, it's okay, guys. It's okay.
We group therapy session.
Yeah. It's perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and then their customers is like, this has nothing to do with or anything, like, you know, whatever their commentary will be. And I'm just like, well, I guess, you know, wasn't a hit. We'll run it as a special, you know, sometimes. But you know, the thing with it all is dishes have, for me, just in general, food in general, Filipino food in general, for me, when I cook it for people, has two goals. One, if you're unfamiliar with Filipino food, it's just got to be good, right? It's just got to taste great. Like, I want you to be like, oh, this is really good. I'm going to come back, you know?
Yeah.
Job done. Easiest goal to obtain. Fantastic. Second goal is the hardest one. If you're familiar with Filipino food or have any like connection to Filipino food whatsoever, whether you're Filipino or you had a Filipino neighbor or, you know, whatever it is, some level of experience with it, is that the dishes need to connect with you as a consumer on an emotional level. I want it to trigger an emotional response. Because, look, I'm not proclaiming to be the be-all, end-all Filipino chef. I'm not your mom. I'm not your grandma. I'm not your Lola. I'm not your Lolo. I'm not your Tito, Tita, whatever it is. I'm not proclaiming to be somebody that cooked this for you when you were a child. But what I am trying to do is I'm trying to share your love of food and why you love it with other people too. So if, for example, if you've had lumpia before, I hope my lumpia will be like, oh, this is, you know, I could see this is like my mom's, so cool, right? You know, or you could say it's not as good as my mom's, but it's pretty tasty, right?
But it still gets that connection.
But it needs to hit. It needs to hit that connection. And oftentimes that's the hard part, is winning over people that are familiar with Filipino food, because anybody within a certain community will tell you that if you are cooking, or creating anything from that particular community, whether Filipino, Vietnamese, Cambodian, Japanese, Korean, it doesn't matter. Your harshest critics are going to be the people from that community. Oh yeah. And they're the worst. Yeah. I love you, Filipinos. But they are the worst. They're the ones who come in and complain, this isn't Filipino food or this, that, or the other. And I'm like, look, you need to come in with an open mind is what you need to do. Yeah. Come in and be like, hey, if you can come in with an open mind and find that emotional connection or are open to that emotional connection, it'll hit. But sometimes, you know what, the most stubborn of people, that's okay. Go for it. Just don't be difficult. Yeah. Don't walk into the
it's okay to not like it, but don't
be an asshole.
Yeah, don't make everybody else around you have a bad time.
And that's the thing, right? Is that the one Filipino friend that they're going to be, oh my God, we found this Filipino restaurant. Let's bring our Filipino friend. Oh shit. You know, then you're like working 3 times as hard trying to please this individual. But that's part of the hospitality portion too, is you want to try to win people over, right? So if this Filipino is like, the food's okay, but the hospitality was great, hey, that's a win in my book, you know? Yeah. Or, oh, this isn't like any other Filipino food I've ever had, but you know, it's still pretty good. Great. Yeah. I'll take it. But then you get the Filipinos like, this isn't Filipino food. And you're like, how do you know? Because they define, you know, conversations of tradition and authenticism. Sure. Those things all come up. And I actually did a TEDx talk on it, and it was crazy. Because that's exactly what I had to talk about, was tradition and authenticism. I'm like, look, what's authentic to you is not going to be authentic to me, because that authentic is your own personal experience.
Right. It's not officially written down anywhere as the official. This is what is traditional to everybody.
And what is and what is authentic? Yeah. Because you know what's authentic to you is not going to be authentic. Yeah. Our experience is different. Yeah, and our traditions are different,
links, and that's what you're trying to find. Is that
exactly?
In between. Yeah.
Adobo is the national dish of the Philippines. Yeah. But your adobo is going to be different from mine. My family's adobo is going to be different, even within the same region. Yeah. Even if it's next door neighbors, the adobos are going to be different.
Yeah. But that's almost something that you want. Because if everything is exactly the same, and it's like, but this tastes exactly like mine. Yeah. I'm glad you're happy, but like, why not try to experience something new and like add something to your reservoir there?
Yeah, but then there's some curmudgeon people that don't do it, so whatever.
That's people though. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you, I heard you talk about some of the awards that you that you accumulated over your vast career, but
a Razzie. Yeah. I don't know. What are those?
But with all those accomplishments and stuff like that you got, some of the recognition, how is it kind of keeping, I wouldn't say your ego in check, but like Was there ever a moment where you're like,
oh yeah,
fucking yeah, I did it. I'm on top of the world, or was it, or like what you said, it's not about awards, but was there like a moment that you had, like a big victory moment where you're like, it was all worth it?
It's like Judd Nelson at the end of Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
fists in the air. Dating myself. No, I think what it is, I tell people this all the time, is that I have my ice cream. I love ice cream. If anybody knows, I love ice cream, right? And I have my scoop. Doesn't matter what it is, right? Mint chocolate chip.
That's my favorite.
Actually, I'm a pralines and cream kind of guy from my dad, which is really interesting. But anyway, I have my ice cream. I have a restaurant that's open. I have employees that are happy. I'm surrounding myself with people I want to surround myself with. My ice cream's there. Everything else is bananas, whipped cream, sprinkles, cherries, chocolate sauce, caramel. You have a sundae.
Yeah.
And that's the awards to me. That's recognition, awards, all these things that people will give you, right? James Beard, Food and Wine, Restaurant of the Year, all those things, those great. I'll eat it. It's fantastic. Yeah. But I don't need it.
Yeah.
I want my ice cream. I have my ice cream. I'm content. I'm happy, right? I learned early on that ego is just it doesn't do anybody. A little bit of ego once in a while, sure.
Yeah. Confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
And I learned that honestly from martial arts. Like I'm a martial artist as well, and one of the signs on the doors of the old gyms that I used to train at in the Philippines, the jiu-jitsu gym, was leave your ego at the door.
Yeah.
And the reason why I love martial arts, just like I love cooking, is that you could talk all the shit you want. You could talk a big game, but when it comes down to it, there is an immediate place to prove it.
Yeah.
In food, it's the plate. Is your food good? Great. Jiu-jitsu, it's even better because on the mats, you could be wearing a black belt. But then if you get your ass kicked by the 16-year-old kid that just started training, then do you really deserve that belt? That kind of situation. But this is where I learned that ego really has no place in my, at least in my own world, right? And I don't really vibe with people with big egos because I'm just like, you know what, man? Nah. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. I don't need to waste my energy on that. So there are moments of celebration for sure. Yeah. Like when we made the finalist list, I was so excited, and I celebrated with my family. I celebrated with my team. Brought my team out to Chicago. Like we all went out. Yeah. There's 20. We were rolling 25 deep. I was like, damn, that's a lot of Filipinos up in this bitch. But that was in Chicago. But we didn't win, obviously. But was I'll be honest. Was I sad when we didn't win? Yeah, I was a little. I was like, I was bummed.
Yeah,
because like. All of our hard work, not just mine.
Right. It's not about you anymore.
It's not about me anymore. All these folks came out to Chicago to support me, and then we didn't take anything home, that kind of thing. Yeah. But honestly, they're the ones who also lifted me up. They're like, it's okay, dude. We all got to hang out in Chicago together.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's
so
the trip itself.
Yeah. So yeah, I have my ice cream. Humbling moments happen every day.
Yeah.
1 minute, we were just discussing this. 1 minute, I find out I'm a nominee. And the next minute, I'm washing dishes, and it's like, okay, well, yay, back to reality. The reality checks are there, but it's cool when you're recognized, and it's cool to get some fun stuff out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I take life one day at a time, and I'm happy with what I have. And if that's all I ever had, then I'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that ice cream reference. And then when you kept talking about ego, the thing that really struck me is it's way more. It's not you to get awards. It's not you versus other restaurants. It's you versus you.
Yeah.
And it's that challenge.
Yeah.
And how do you keep that, especially with some of those, and like how do you keep challenging yourself to make things even better? I have to imagine it's just. Your taste evolves, so you're like, ooh, how can we push this even farther?
So as a young cook, when I first started, it was really easy to challenge myself because I didn't know,
Yeah, we talked about experience.
Yes,
that
I still don't know everything, but when you're younger, you definitely don't know anything, right?
Yeah.
But it's that experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is building your deck of cards. Is that
Yep.
like, I'm going to go back to my nerdyism. It's like Magic the Gathering, you're going to create your deck, right? You're going to stack your deck with these things. And when you're a beginner, you stack your deck with all these cards that are just like whatever. You're just going to throw it out there.
Whatever you got.
Whatever you got. Just throw it in there, right? But then you're going to realize that there's nuance to these things. So, and you're going to realize, oh, this works, but this doesn't. Maybe I should just get rid of like the 9 different cards of the same one, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that challenge when you're younger is easier because there's more to learn. But the older I get, the more that I'm challenging myself through other things, like travel is a big thing for me. I challenge myself by trying to recreate a dish that I had that really stuck in my memory, and then I challenge myself even further in how to make it Filipino. I'm like that Greek dad in My Big Fat Greek Wedding. It's like this dish is derived from. But I challenge myself in that way where I'm trying to now pull in all the experiences that I'm continuing to have, and applying that to the plate. It could be anything from like, why won't my kids eat my food? So that's a new challenge. It's like, how am I going to make these dishes and make them like it? Like, eat my food. I'm a chef. Mac and cheese, man. That's box mac. My kids know the difference between box mac and cheese and the mac and cheese I make from scratch.
Off the first bite.
And they're like, I make this awesome mac and cheese. I'm like, oh, this is so good. I don't even fancy it up. I'm just like, I'm just gonna use slightly better cheese and make a bechamel. Here, try this. And they're like, no. This isn't right. I'm like, go cry in my bedroom. But there are challenges, yes. So to constantly challenge yourself, you need to find, you have to actively seek the challenges. You can't just be complacent and be like, oh, I'm not challenged anymore.
Like, everybody loves this dish, so I'm good.
I'm good. Yeah. But that means that one, either you're afraid of evolving, or 2, you're gonna sit on your ass and just be like, oh, I'm good, which
that's no fun.
Some people, but some people are happy with that, and that's okay. Like, you know what, you want to do that, you do you, boo. I don't care. But for me, I'm constantly trying to find challenges. Well, shit, I'm opening multiple restaurants, and I'm like, and I'm a dad, and it's like this is insane.
Your challenge is like, when do I sleep?
What's that? Sleep? Oh, you're adorable. No, but things like that. It's like, how am I going to challenge myself? But here's the other flip side to that. One, I know I can't do it on my own, right? So these challenges come with like little asterisk marks, right? It's like little side notes. Because these challenges, it's like, how am I going to challenge others around me now to be better as well?
Because that's also how you get better, when the group gets
exactly. better. And how do I bring them up? So it's the way that I kind of modeled my business model is that, I have this core group of individuals that have been with me for years. So how do I make their lives better too? Percentage shares. Let's open this restaurant together. Your partner, or let's do this. Giving them the things that I'm earning off of what we all do together. Yeah. Yes, there's this figurehead situation where like I kind of brought everything together and kind of make it happen. Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, it's like they've worked long enough where they can reap the benefits of the rewards that are being given as well. So again, that interprets into, some people talk the talk. They're like, oh, I share, my employees, I treat my employees like blah, 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 whatever. But they don't do anything about it. Yeah. I'm actively trying to do something about it. Like, I want to give them profit share. I want to give them ownership because I can't do this on my own. So I challenge them as well.
Good leaders know that almost immediately.
True. I mean, they're if they're not doing that, then they're leading through some false sense of like, whatever.
It's ego based. It's essentially what it tends to boil down to. Yes. It's like, I can do this all alone. Yeah. You're lucky that I let you in on this.
I hate that shit. I really genuinely hate it when people say, you're lucky that I, me. Yeah. It's like bullshit. Yeah. Take everybody away. Good. I want to see you do it on your own. Yeah. But that's the thing, though. It's recognizing that we're not in it alone. Yeah. My family has been through challenges. My employees have been through challenges. But if we can get out of these challenges together, we're going to be stronger for it.
Yeah.
So
And stronger together too.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
You talked about how, challenging yourself and traveling and trying different foods. It reminds me a bit of like when you listen to comedians and they like, oh, well, you go on a trip and that thing happened and it could be a bit. How is it like trying different foods and everything like that? But on the flip side, I started doing a lot of writing with like a writing partner and stuff. And once you really understand how like stories work, it kind of ruins bad TV now. Like it's like, it's only really good TV and then like reality shows. So like the way the other side,
it's like the complete other left.
Yeah. So like, it's like nothing there. Has that like challenge yourself to like go to different things? So every time you eat something, you're like, oh, could I make this Filipino? And on the flip side, has food almost been ruined because you know what really good food is?
Well, so thankfully, I love to eat first before I love to cook. As you can tell by my figure, this is people. Some people call it fat. I call it a show of investment.
It's a business expense. Yeah.
Invest in that, man. No, but I sorry. I grew up eating. I love eating. I love food. I love food. And the funniest part is that people always say like, "Oh, it's so intimidating to cook for you." It's like, I don't give a shit. What people don't realize that chefs generally don't give a shit. Yeah. The reason why is because someone else is doing the cooking. Yeah. I tell people,
all the brewers, Miller High Life.
Absolutely.
That is what they love.
Yes. And it's just like, then all of a sudden the beer stops. Like, oh my God, how could you drink Miller High Life? I'm like, because it quenches
like, what are you
my
talking
thirst,
about?
The champagne of beers?
Yeah.
Hello?
What are you talking about?
It's like Tecate? Absolutely. PBR, give it to me. Mm-hmm. Am I talking? You name it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So because a lot of people don't realize is that, for some people, yes, it might get ruined. And a lot of young cooks are very like that. That's where you see the experience come in. You're like, oh my God, this guy tried to make spaghetti for me, blah, blah, blah. One, you're being a prick. Two, stop being a prick. But two, it's just like, I know how hard it is to cook. I still remember how hard it is to cook because I was there, right? So I genuinely appreciate the actions of an individual because you're putting in an effort for my sake. Don't worry about me being a chef. Like, is there anything I can do to help you? I don't want to take anything over. I don't want to take anything away from you. I'm genuinely happy in knowing that there's another human being that actually cares to do something for another human being.
Yeah, because when it boils it down, like eating and food is such a communal human thing that it's like and we come back to connections again. It's like it's really about the connections of it. The food is the plus.
Yeah, the food is the plus, but it's the connection that boils down to it, and that's what makes a great restaurant. You could have all the frills and sass that you want, but if you're not connecting with your customers and they're just a one-shot deal, it ain't gonna happen. Yeah. Like a great example is my wife. When we first started dating, she was so intimidated. She wanted to cook dinner for me. So on our first date, I cooked dinner for her, 3-course meal, wine pairings, all this stuff.
That's your move, yeah.
But that's my move. That's my move. That's all I know. I'm good.
I was gonna say, I got one
move. Can't take you to an art show. I don't know what I'm talking about here. Yeah. I don't want to show you how uncultured I am. It's like I don't have time for these things. No. But then she wanted to cook dinner for me, and it was funny because we laugh about this story now. She was so intimidated and nervous because she's not like she was like, before I met you, I ate cereal for dinner 9 times out of 10, and I cooked vegetarian because it was easy. So she called my cousin, and my cousin walked her through. So she did
the work.
Yeah, she did the work, and I remember she made panko crusted chicken breast, and sautéed pea shoots, and rice, and she was so nervous, she dropped a piece of the chicken that was cooked already on the floor, and I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. Picked it up, put it on my plate, just started eating it, and she was just like, what the fuck. like this is. I was like, oh, this is delicious. It was great. It was great. It was. She did an amazing job.
Great.
But I know it made her uncomfortable because it's not in her wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I don't care. It was. You could have made me a grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup, Campbell's tomato soup. Yeah. I'm fine. Yeah. You know why? Because we're here together and we're making this meal. So I just
Yeah, I have somebody like in the company right now that I do pretty much all the content, but there's one or two people that will help out with it. And there's this person down in California. He used to be up here. His name is Dom, who really got into cameras. And he started taking some photos, and he's like, I'm really nervous to show you all this stuff. And he's like, I'll take any advice. I'm like, I'm just happy that like you're enjoying taking photos.
Exactly.
And I get to like help stoke that flame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not going to offer my opinion on what you're doing unless you ask me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be over your shoulder. It's like, you should flip that grilled cheese now. What kind of cheese did you use? What kind of bread is that? Are you sure you want to use that kind of bread?
Yeah.
No, like, hey, if you ask me to help, it's like, hey, what can I do for you? Yeah. It's like, how do you know if this grilled cheese? I know. It's like, I usually look at the color and this side or the other. Yeah, that looks good. Go for it. Yeah, flip it. And then yes, I'll help. And I'm happy.
Yeah.
Because I'm helping you.
I love helping. Yeah.
Overcoming something that you're nervous about, and you're asking me for help.
Yeah.
Because one of the hardest things that human beings have is to ask for help.
Yeah.
Just ask me.
100%. One of the questions I wanted to ask was, so Portland has some unbelievable food.
Yep.
Just almost every kind of style you can find. So
Sure.
Well, you have opinions.
We all have opinions.
Yeah. But with all that and with all the great restaurants in Portland, is there any that you would love to like combine or like you and somebody else like do a collab of some sort? Like, is there a dream place that you'd love to, make a dish with?
In Portland?
In Portland. And then we can go.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Portland.
Sure.
No, the cool thing is that when I first moved to Portland, I was an outsider, and
as most people.
Yeah, most people are, right? Just like, wherever you go. There are a lot of amazing chefs out here, super talented, amazing people, and doing amazing things. And honestly, it's less about an interest in combining the weirdest, wackiest things, but more so just like the pleasure of being able to share space with people.
Yeah.
That to me is more important than whatever comes out. I don't care. I have this weird concept I created when I was super high. It's called pizza, fried rice pizza. It's great. It's a great concept. Just don't worry about it. But
see, Bradley's grin alone is taking all the interest.
And you put pizza on your fried rice, in your fried rice, or you put the fried rice on top of your pizza, or the ultimate combo is you put the pizza that you chopped up in the fried rice and put that on top of the pizza. So it's pizza, fried rice, pizza.
Oh.
It's a published recipe.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, with that being said, no, I think they're amazing chefs. I'm not gonna pick and choose anyone. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I probably won't hurt anyone's feelings. Honestly, people won't want to listen to me anyway. No, but there are some amazing chefs that are amazing people that are really cool that are just like, that are friends and homies that we never get a chance to share space with.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's so similar to the brewing where a lot of these collabs, like not to shattering illusion, is not like literally two breweries like getting the recipe perfect. It's mostly just brewers hanging out.
Yeah,
and enjoying,
like, hey,
I'm going to come down to San Diego. We'll do a collab. You mean drink all day at the brewery and hang out and go to all these different restaurants?
Yeah, that's exactly
that was
what
a great
happens.
collab. I can't wait for that beer we're going to make.
Yeah.
And it's way more about the community part.
Exactly.
Of it.
And for a great example is like now I'm kind of making these dreams come true for myself. Like I'm actually doing a collaboration this Sunday with a friend of mine, Holly. She owns Sebeho, which is it's based off a Singaporean ingredient, right? She's from Singapore, I believe. And we're doing a Singaporean crab kamayan, which is the way that you eat is like spread on banana leaves and
cool.
you use your hands, you don't use utensils, this kind of thing, but using chili crab as kind of the main focus. So we're doing that collab. In a couple weeks, I'm doing a collaboration with two friends of mine. They're from Hawaii, and we're gonna do this Hawaiian Filipino collaboration. And if anybody knows the history, it's deep in collab, right? That's like evolutionary cuisine right there because of all the connections. But they're super talented, and I get to do this with them, Kao, and these collaborations aren't because of like, oh, I need to collaborate with this person because this, that, or that. It's just like, I just
they're hype. I need to. Yeah.
Nah, I don't care about the hype. I just want to hang out. Like, I just want to hang out with people in the kitchen because you can, for me as a chef, you could also tell a lot about a person in a kitchen. Yeah. Kind of like, how you could tell, some people could tell by the shoes that they wear or or how they walk or whatever. I could tell just by in the kitchen, like if you're going to be a cool person or not, Yeah. And if I'm going to want to hang out with you or not. And yeah. So there's that.
Yeah. Love that.
Notice how I didn't answer your question.
No. That's
like, I skirted about that one.
Something I always like to ask as well is maybe just about recipes or whatever you're doing. What's like the biggest creative rut you've ever got into? How do you get out of ruts?
Oh man. That one's an easy one. I get in ruts every day of my life. I think the creative ruts that I find is oftentimes with the advent of social media and being able to see everything that everybody else is doing, you think that you came up with an idea. You're like, oh, this is going to be fucking great. I'm going to do this, this, and this. Oh my God. Oh yeah, it's going to be great. I'm going to do this. And all of a sudden, boop.
Yeah. You make the mistake of Googling it or
even just
looking on
scrolling
Instagram,
while you're on the toilet, because we all do that.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
You're just like, just scroll. Oh shit. Someone did that already. Or you're like, oh my God, I swear I'm mic'd. Someone's listening, that kind of situation. Yeah. But those are the times that I get in creative ruts is that you get into your own head about having to do this new thing that nobody's ever seen. And I changed my mentality a little bit. It's like, I don't need to impress anybody anymore. I just want to eat good food. And that changed how I looked at things and how I approach things creatively. And I find myself with less blocking. And nowadays it's more like I don't like to repeat myself when it comes to food. So now that's the biggest challenge. That's a challenge, one. But two, that also puts me in ruts. It's like, I did this already. Oh, I did this already. Okay.
Yeah, but it ends up pushing you farther and into an even more creative space.
It really does. But the process sucks.
Yeah.
Everybody hates that. Trust the process. Fuck you, man. Yeah. Sorry. That was very vulgar. That was pretty aggressive, but it's very true.
Yeah.
Trust the process. Trust you somewhere.
I usually like to finish it out with a question, but I think I already know your answer. It's like, at what level do you think that you've made it? But I think that, you got your ice cream. So so I actually have a different question I want to go with.
Yeah.
So you pretty much said everything that you do, you find a way to almost make it Filipino, right?
Yeah.
Has there ever been anything where you're like, I just want to make something that's like just a different style completely? And like, or like, what are you cooking that's
Every
like different style or do you have this pressure to like make it Filipino because of the restaurant? Or is it like, oh, it's just what I like?
So we have another hour, right? No, no, I think, all right. So we're going to go into a little story time, kids. So I was on this competition show, right? And it was like, you're going to be cooking food from, we're going to give you ingredients specific to different places, right? They didn't specify that the cities that I had were Tuscany, Memphis, and Japan. Kyoto, Japan to be specific, right? And, the rules are, okay, you have to cook. We're going to give you a pantry only with ingredients from there. You get some basics like salt and flour, but nothing else, right? So it's very specific. And a lot of people's approach was like, oh, I'm going to cook a dish that I know from Tuscany. I'm going to cook a dish I know from Memphis. I'm going to cook a dish I know from Japan.
Sure.
I didn't approach it that way. I said, how can I make this Filipino?
Love that.
But because that's me, right? But the advantage being I cook for an Italian chef. I love Southern food, so I'm fairly familiar. And I've worked with a lot of Southerners, so I'm very familiar with the ingredient. And, I worked in a Japanese restaurant for many, many years. Yeah. So
pulling that deck of cards out.
Yeah. Pulling that deck of cards out, right? Yeah. But then the cool thing is like, okay, now how am I gonna spin this? Italian food. Made my own noodles, connected it with China influence on Philippines. Boom. We have pancit. Southern food, smoked food, okay, off a grill, okay. Well, the elements of a smoked chicken that called inasal, this, that, or the other. Boom, Memphis. Japan. All right, now I'm going to put a stretch. Main ingredient that we needed to use was tofu. I was like, oh shit, we have a tofu dish in the Philippines called toko at baboy. I was like, okay, do this. All right, I pull a little bit. I cooked for Morimoto, was the judge for that city, and that's intimidating, right? But I stuck to my guns, and I won that episode. I won $8,000, right?
Nice.
I made it to the finals, which is all the winners from all the episodes went to the finals, and I made it all the way to the finals, doing the same thing. Filipino, just kind of, again, being that Greek dad.
Yeah.
The last city was Paris, France. And that's the hardest to connect to Filipino cuisine because we didn't have any connection to the French in the Philippines.
Yeah, I know.
No. British, Spanish, Portuguese, Japanese, Chinese, no French.
Interesting.
So I was hard pressed. So then I relied on that, but I pulled it off because I relied then on instead of going cultural, I went technical. So my old chef, Parisian gnocchi because it's Paris. I know that snails and blue cheese because cheese was the focus on that. And then dessert. Okay, I'm going to do a Japanese dessert that So I lost the grand finale. I missed out on $25,000. But to answer your question, I don't feel pressure. I don't want to feel the pressure. I want to be able to cook what I want to cook. But knowing what I'm selling as a restaurant, we are a Filipino restaurant. I'm not going to put, an Italian dish in a Filipino restaurant.
It always bothers me when I see like a restaurant, then like a Greek authentic.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a hamburger. I don't know what the origin, but then they're like hamburger. I'm like,
Greek. Germany.
Why? Like, why are you doing this?
Do souvlaki. Where's the flaming cheese? Where's the saganaki? Oppa, right?
Yeah.
Greek town in Detroit. Back to Detroit. But no, and I'm not saying that you're not allowed to interlace different cultures, but make it reasonable. Like if I'm going to do a burger,
make it authentic to yourself too. Like don't just put a burger and like you always see like exactly what you just see a burger and you're like you don't give a shit about that burger.
Yeah, you don't give a shit. Yeah. But here's the thing. So we were briefly in a bar, and I was doing bar food. And I was like, well, I'm not going to put deep Filipino food at a bar. I'm going to make a burger. But I'm going to make a burger I want to eat. But I'm also going to add ingredients like we made a spicy pineapple habanero barbecue sauce. I love crispy cheese because I used to be the kid that would put Kraft singles in the microwave until it crisped up. Oh, dude, it's great. I'm a nerd. Actually, I would just say, just a really, really awesome kid. Innovative. But like...
It's a pretty sweet origin story, but yeah.
But I love crispy cheese, so I put it on the griddle top, made a smash burger, did this, had a slaw with, flavors. So there's a difference between saying, I'm going to serve Filipino cuisine, non-traditional Filipino cuisine, which is what the restaurant is, modern. But there's also something to say it's like these dishes are influenced by Filipino flavors.
Yeah, because it's influenced by you.
Yes,
and
but
you are what you cook. Yeah,
but then again, I'm a man of many different backgrounds. Right, Italian food, I can make pasta by hand. I can make you a really fucking solid bolognese. Right, I can make sushi. I'm not going to be the best in the city, but I can make a pretty damn good hand roll, that kind of thing. Just don't proclaim it. Don't stand on top of this mountain with this giant sign, like those memes with the guy with the sign. Yeah. Like, don't be that asshole. Yeah. Just be like, hey man, I'm cooking me. I'm doing me.
Yeah.
That's okay. Do you. Do you, boo. I told you earlier, you do you, boo.
Yeah.
And everything's going to be fine. Just don't be an asshole about it.
Yeah, I think that's a journey a lot of artists take because once you realize that, hopefully you're younger when you realize it, but once you realize like, oh, if I just do the stuff I like doing, I'll get way better at it because I like doing. I'm not just doing it just because, I think that's the popular thing, that's the trend right now.
Well, that's where you see burnout. That's when you see people lose passion for what they do is because they're trying to they're trying too hard.
Yeah.
And
I see a lot of I do a lot of creative projects, like even this whole project and stuff, and people will always say to oh, you're doing so much, and I'm like, I don't really feel like I am because and then I look back, I guess I am, but it's it's fun, it's what I want to be doing, it's what I like doing.
Exactly.
So,
it's the same thing. I'm again opening multiple restaurants within a year, and people are like, you're doing a lot, and then you're doing I'm here on a podcast, or you're doing TV, or you're doing whatever it is you're doing. It's like, dude, how do you do all this? It's like, I don't know. There's a lot of people I love and trust that I know that can then help me along the way, that can cover the restaurant while I'm away. But at the same time, it's like, I love doing this shit.
Yeah.
Like, I love meeting new people and talking about food and whatever. People who are genuinely interested in me. Like, I didn't get to talk about myself for a lot. I don't talk about myself often. But when I do, it's like, if you're willing to listen with an open ear and open heart and not just sit there and be like, oh, I have to listen to this guy, I guess, like whatever, then there's, I don't know. Does that make sense?
This would be
Does
an
that make any
insane
sense?
podcast if I was just like, this person's really cool, but it's like, fucking, what do you have to say?
Yeah. Hey, man.
Yeah.
Here's 30 minutes. Go on.
Yeah.
Go
Just
on.
talk, I guess. I'll be here. But.
Yeah. It's like, you know what? Cool.
Seriously, thanks for coming on. This was so much fun.
Oh, thank you.
Obviously, I like to do like whatever you want to plug, but just go to his restaurant. We'll make sure to make all that stuff available. Beaverton, Portland, and then opening up in Denver.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if there's anything else you need to plug or anything like that, I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you. No, I greatly appreciate it. I mean, come visit me at Magna Kusina, 26 in Clinton. I don't know when this podcast is going to come out. Hopefully the other restaurant is open by the time this comes out. Trust me, I'm like, my hair loss is rapid. We're opening Magna Kubo in Beaverton. Hopefully in the next few weeks. It's, hopefully end of April, beginning of May.
Yeah.
And then
this podcast will be a little bit after that. So
perfect.
Yeah.
We're open in Beaverton. I'm just putting it out in the universe. And then Denver is going to be early next year.
Love it.
So we're excited to bring Filipino food and culture to everybody.
Yeah, love it. Thanks so much.
Of course. Thank you.
Thanks.